today is already Monday, 1st of September 2025. It has really been a long time since I recorded anything. Actually, no, not long time. I've just recently recorded a weird attempt at doing vibe coding. But it has been a while since I've done like any big videos talking about any big subjects. As you probably see on the screen, I've got the name of the guy named David Green, but I'm not going to talk about David. I'm gonna talk today about the job market, HRs, a little bit about my opinion on AIs and whatnot. The reason I'm doing this is kind of actually very simple. As usual, I've been like since the lockdowns, I'll do one step forward, two steps back, get do something right and then screw up a few things out, a few other things, which ends up getting into more trouble. And what I found is I've been looking for a new role. Again, as you can see, this is me here, and it says open to work. Yes, I am. Even though I know that this video is probably gonna kind of cause a bit of caution to some potential employers. But what I found is the last interview I was doing, like, because I spent so much time like in front of my computer and not really talking to a lot of people, not really like because obviously while being unemployed, it's not really the time when you start going out and like to some nice places and nice parties and stuff like this. So essentially, I've been locked up in my place for quite a while. Uh, I did end up going out with a friend of mine who took great pleasure in seeing me being beat up by big sweaty man in a BJJ open mat sessions. And she's a very lovely lady, but I think she really very much enjoyed just people giving me a bit of a beating. She probably loves me, I know. It's her way of showing her appreciation of my good character. But overall, like I don't go out as much. I don't spend a lot of time speaking to people, and I felt that I got back to the position which really got me to start this channel in the first place. I started to lose my ability to talk, to speak to people. Like my last interview I had, I really started feeling that I'm stumbling more than I should. I mean, it was an interesting experience for some other reasons, which I might actually mention today. But because of that, I thought, okay, let's get back to doing some videos. Let's talk about things. I've got an entirety of 30 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And so if you found this me sharing this video somewhere and you want to subscribe or click a like button, feel free to do that. I'm not doing this for the money. But if you do this, or leave a comment, I'd be happy to get one because it just kind of replaces in the way the communication I'm missing while being stuck in my not very tidy flat, which is only 30 square meters. I think for the Americans it's about 100 square feet, something like this. So it's about like 3 square feet, just over 3 square feet to a square meter. Right, so it's not very big. It's in Berlin. It's in a very lovely area, unfortunately a bit further away from the city center. So, and being stuck here, mostly either trying to apply for the jobs or just trying to find energy to do things, I found that so many things you kind of not really talking through. So, sorry for this, like, I probably should be making this a very professional video about like jobs and stuff like this. But I thought, okay, I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna share a little bit. So why I'm making this video? I mean, there's a couple of posts on here. So more and more people are talking whether AI is gonna take, well, First they were screaming AI is gonna take all our jobs. Then they were screaming, oh my god, AI is like dying already and stuff like this. So I was looking at this, and then we had this little. I ran into this David's post from a couple of weeks ago, and I somebody wrote something there that I wanted to give a reply to, and it just kind of wasn't like, okay, cool, back and forth. And this is kind of weird one because this post by David, he's actually trying to advertise his services as an HR agent, so that he can find professionals for the companies. Was it? Yeah, I'm gonna read this post because we're gonna talk about many things. He is like, we've had 73 applicants this week. That's what hiring manager told me on Monday. And they weren't celebrating. They'd already sifted through 40 CVs. No one was worth interviewing. More applications doesn't mean better candidates. It usually means more admin, more frustration, more delay. The best teams I work with don't want 100 options. They want two or three qualified, engaged, and ready to move. That's why your process is built to prioritize quality over volume. Every candidate is vetted, language tagged, and prepped to move quickly. If your inbox is full, your pipeline isn't moving. It might be time to change the way you're hiring. Open to a quick chat. I'm here. So essentially, he's advertising his services. Me being me, like, I am a bit of a irony slash satire side of things. I actually tried doing stand-up comedy just to again practice my talking skills at some point of time. So a bit of chicken tongue until I got banned from doing stand-up comedy for making jokes which many comedians didn't find funny because I was making fun of them. So my reply to this was, when you have tens over hundreds of applications and nobody's worth interviewing, may I suggest looking into a mirror? You might find your main problem right there. And it's kind of funny because this post has got nearly 40 likes, and his entire ad got 22 likes. So essentially, this post has got nearly double the likes of people. I mean, okay, it's a bit of chicken tongue, and I'm not picking on David. He's obviously doing his job, but it did lead to a conversation, which in a way very nicely shows, like, where we are. It's like, you know, Hi Yuri, what we tend to find is when we have this massive amount of applications is that the majority of these candidates are either underqualified for a role, university leavers applying for senior role, or in the country when the role does not support relocators, or not in the country when the role does not support relocators. I understand what you're trying to say, but this is what we have finding. And like, okay, I'm gonna read the whole conversation, not just with David, but with some other commentators. And then we're gonna go through a few things. Like, I've got a few tabs open, so don't worry. We're gonna get to that. And again, whose fault is that? If only underqualified applicants are applying, maybe you should review your requirements and consider if they're actually viable. Or are you looking for the next scam artist? But that would be a problem for the one in the mirror. If you're not providing relocation, could you have clearly stated that in a highly visible part of a job description, like at the top? You can't blame the world if one in the mirror is incapable of creating a clear job description. And again, like, people who are looking for jobs, quite a few of us have come across the job descriptions which are read like, I don't know, War and Peace, or I don't know, but the Song of Fire and Ice. For those who don't read books, okay, the Song of Fire and Ice. It's was it what was that series? War of the Thrones or something like this? Yeah, that series. All right, let's look it up. War of the Thrones. Oops, nope, 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 nope. Oh, I forgot how this uh, series based on books on songs fire on ice. Oops. Okay. Oh, Game of Thrones. I apologize, guys. Yes, so I actually read the books, not so much of the series, right? But yeah, the Game of the Thrones. So these are the books. So there are a lot of books. They're big, and a lot of job descriptions. They do come in this kind of form factor where there's a lot of stuff when there are a lot of requirements. They kind of like either like spot in the middle, something in the job description, something there, and the offers are not there or not described. So it's like, but we're gonna get to that. Okay, so here's another answer by Maxim Raskin. No doubt that many of those candidates are qualified for this position. What even funnier that even if they do hire someone who isn't qualified at this moment, after a small adjustment period, she would probably be able to do this job on their own. What they're looking for is someone who's grossly overqualified. We're gonna get to that because yes, a lot of companies do have this problem. Like my last interview, the company was when I was talking because now the senior developers are not enough anymore. Like going to that, I was talking to them and apparently they had a team of 20 staff engineers. Like staff engineers is apparently cooler now than senior engineers. This is like senior engineers who apparently know what they're doing with your system. So yeah. So again, I'm agreeing to his max. No argument there for me. Most managers today, the main problem in recruiting is the person in the mirror. So okay, the new ah, Alex Russell, the new grad is underqualified for a senior position. No matter how you cut it, the fix here is not accepting a new grad in the hopes that they can become a senior quick. They can't, but actually incentivizing the seniors to apply for senior positions with senior salaries by Alex Russell. And again, this is one of the reasons I wanted to do this video because oh my god, there is so much to unpack. So just in this conversation, we're gonna go already mention some things. So number one, most of the roles where they write that they require senior engineer which knows 500 technologies and stuff like this, most of them are really looking for the person that does not exist. So there's a people who kind of know a little bit about something, probably just enough to kind of pass through the interview, but like I've used like things like Docker, I've used things like that. Obviously use Git not on daily basis now, but like a couple of days a week I still use Git when I try to do my own development and stuff like this. But you kind of use only three or four commands. The rest of them and that they exist, but you don't really use them. So over the years, what happened, what I find overall, what happened over the years is something I actually talked about was when I was talking about this in 2017 when I was talking about the fall of Soviet Union, whereas the companies over the years have gone and they have started treating people really kind of worse and worse and worse. Like, the HR department went from the part where they were actually taking their job was to like, hey, we're gonna take care about our staff. Hey, we're gonna see how we can keep the people, keep them more or less happy to essentially becoming the opposition to the staff. So their numbers were how many they fired, how many they hired, not like, because obviously it's very hard to keep record of how many people did not quit out of the from the company for being treated right. And obviously, like many departments like this, the more hires and fires and hires they have, the more they likely there to keep their own jobs. So essentially, the situation over the years was building up to this weird situations that we have now. Okay, so well, let's go through some of the stuff. Yes, again, something we like. Jill Cronenberg. We actually had a chat with her, and she's saying like, oh, I'm receiving lots of messages on WhatsApp and calls about this role, but you really need to be living in Netherlands and not require visa sponsorship. So again, something I mentioned is like, yes, you need to put it. And she later, Jill, I actually had a chat with her uh, before, not about this, but like this is actually one of the few employment agencies where actually we had at least back and forth. Because what happens, but again, this is he in this she actually ends up no visa sponsorship, and again, it's kind of in the bottom after all the emails, like all this stuff here, unless you're kind of looking for this stuff, like quite often it's not even like this, right? So, but if you were to go to the link with the job, I don't know if it's still active. Let's take a look. Right, let's just let them. All right, so wonderful. We see this whole big description, right? I can't see anywhere there that talks about no visa sponsorship, right? So if anybody just look quickly, clicked on the link, and they went here, they will not find no visa sponsorship on here. And this is what we find in like many people writing these and notices is like company profile. Guys, let's be honest, like most of the employees now don't read this shit. They don't give a flying fuck about the company profile unless they specifically look for a company. They're looking just for a job, for a role. You know, this is something that goes down the bottom of the requirements. So if they have to go through this before they get to this, the role description, again, this is already kind of their brain already starts to switch off. Then there's a lot of tags for the like job description, like event driven components, advanced integrations, which are essentially sound bites to make shit sound ooh, sorry, sound cool. But and oh, I'm sorry, Jill, I'm not picking on you, but this is like a good example from many job descriptions that I myself have seen, right? Where people just go like, I'm sorry guys, but it's like you essentially sieve through and then you get to job requirements and what's in it for you right down the end, right? And then what you find is that the job requirements are like kind of, well, this one is actually more or less reasonable, but often you find a list of like 20 to 30 different requirements and you go like, oh my god, this stuff, I'm just gonna apply just in case, right? But one thing in this conversation I have found is when people talk about also unqualified, too junior, or like, we're only looking for a senior. I already mentioned that. Like, yes, people now in Europe and US, I don't know, like many places, they all want to have their cool developers, their junior, their seniors. Like the last company I worked for, like one cool thing about them is they have trained at least one guy from being a junior to like, becoming a full-fledged developer. Very smart guy, Daniel, I think it was his name. But like you don't get seniors system. I'm sorry, guys. I don't care how much which cool stuff you have. Right, the most senior engineer that comes onto your project, unless you starting from scratch, even if you're using the best known tools in the world, there will always be changes, there will always be shortcuts, there will always be the way you set stuff up. So the best engineers in the world, unless they're blagging their way through stuff, are not gonna be acting as a senior on your project for the first about, don't say 3 to 6 months before they learn, unless you have done some, unless you followed like the documentation, if you're using Symfony and you followed everything to the letter, you didn't step anywhere outside, and you've got a guy who only works with Symfony, maybe then yes, but you will have a lot of stuff. Right, so this stuff I don't understand, but this is another problem is the fact that companies in the West, like the Western companies, which is everybody screaming about how they want to be capitalist and how we should not be relying on the governments and how they want to pay as little taxes as possible and everything else. But somehow, like my experience in the West is all the businesses, all the companies expect the professionals to be provided for them. Oh, we're gonna go in the market and we're gonna have all the best, like super talented people. Like we don't have to invest into training. And this has been going on for a very long time. I spoke about something like this all the way in 2017. It's like 8 years ago when I was first made some of my first videos. And I was saying, hey guys, if you don't do that, if you don't do that, you will not have the professional staff. And when people talk about AI taking over people's jobs, it's all like again wishful thinking. Even though in 2019, in my last role in Stuttgart, was it 2019, 2018, 2019, I was working in a company in Stuttgart, and in the conversation with the guys there, I said, look, guys, by about 2025, we're gonna have the AI that's gonna be able to write programming code or do like some engineering tasks. We're gonna have those models, they're gonna be able to work, but the problem with those is they do make a lot of mistakes. And again, let me just see which of the conversation we had this. Yeah, we're gonna we'll get to that. Yeah, so we had this conversation, and he's like, coding isn't that. So here they speak about how AI is taking and changing the jobs, and obviously now everybody again something which happens now is like everybody wants professionals with 20 years knowledge of Python, where like somebody comes to you and says that they have 20 years experience of Python, they are probably in a very low percentile of what is going on. So there's like not many people who worked with Python for that long. So okay, they're generally probably lying. So but when you're looking for jobs, I'm jumping from place to place. I apologize, but when you're looking for jobs, many companies, oh, if you have not had 10 years experience of work with Python or something like this, we don't want to hire you. Guys, Python is not that hard to learn if somebody has got good basics, but having to relearn Python every half a fucking year and not being hired for that means that many people just stop. I did. I actually wrote some stuff on one of my jobs for Python, but since then a few years has passed and people saying, oh, wait a minute, you don't have 5, 10, 15, 20 years of Python, we cannot hire you. This is the where the AI is trying to find this magical. I am not gonna be lying on my CV. I'm not gonna be lying on my application saying that I did something that I didn't. I understand the advice was always look, just change your CV, just lie on your CV, just let them know that you know it, and then just spend like yeah, I don't know, a few days relearning the thing again for the interview, and then you'll be fine. That's the level of applicants you generally get in. Same stuff with the advice was for juniors. If you see a senior role, still apply for that one, but so that in case they have another roles, they will call you back. That one we're gonna talk about today as well. But nevertheless, we're talking about AI and something I wrote here. Let me get to this. Okay, cool. Industry has spent the last 20 years destroying any and all ability to grow as strategic solution architect, putting emphasis on technical knowledge of 100 languages without understanding underlying technologies, and you're hoping to have AI generated code that actually works when you don't have people who can design proper technical tasks. You're hallucinating more than AIs. Right, and Glenda here is agreeing with me. Glenda Carney, just a comment that came up, like I said, on my job thingy, so I replied to that. And yes, we have lots of developers who claim to be like people who basically fell through with this kind of current push of yeah, produce as many lines of code and like just write something very complicated, not complex, complicated, don't mix the two, all right, and then you can keep the job. This is the 100x engineers, I've been looking for all these perfect people who generally do not actually provide solutions. This is why a lot of code ends up being a disaster, and this is why there was a push for at least writing some tests. But again, this is unfortunately is the push now. Is like I don't know where we had this discussion. Oh yeah. uh, yeah. Again, with AI, everybody's like looking for. Good thing I kept that one actually. Good thing, but talking about AI and how everybody wants to work with Python because apparently they only heard that only Python works with AI, everything else doesn't work. I actually kept this one. So Vitaly Ivanov is on one of my contacts has actually recently that he actually created a PHP agent development kit. Yeah, he used a PHP agent development kit to design his own PHP AI agent. So, which proves again and again that look, guys, that if you know your basics, if you understand how things work, the language is not important. Like, unless obviously you're using something which is like trying to create things for the web in C++, maybe it's a bit more work than you should do because PHP has been done exactly for that purpose, or like Python is being used for kind of similar purposes now as well. And it's the fact that PHP is essentially has not been a language for a very long time. It was actually a framework to connect lots of C and C++ applications to have an easy connector for those applications. Okay, so PHP is essentially Symfony, same as Symfony, only if Symfony is a framework for PHP, PHP is framework for more hardcore languages like C and C++. Now probably Rust as well. I don't know. But again, but this conversation, obviously, these conversations happen. They say, will AI replace lots of jobs? or very little chance. Okay, because to write these kind of tasks which will get AI to generate good code, there's not many people capable of doing that. I'd like to say that yes, I had experience of doing something like this, and yes, I had experience of actually simply designing solutions rather than simply writing lots of code. And design of the solutions involve, like, the kind of servers you need to set up, the kind of, how it's supposed to interact, the database designs. Yes, I have done all that, but even from the knowing what I have done, I understand that that documentation that I've written for that particular project was, if I were to put it into AI, that would not be enough to generate a good application without any hallucinations, without any extra features put in there which you didn't ask for. Like, I've literally, like, my last video I was doing it, put in a function, and I was like complaining it was a bad function. And as I looked at it, I was like, understood that actually I don't need that function there at all. It's just that AI was hallucinating because it had seen somebody done something like it. And right, so AI is not really taking junior jobs. AI is not really taking senior jobs. It's not taking it, like, it's not even taking mid-level jobs. Like, for I'm never claimed to be a senior. I'm a mid-level. I consider myself to be a good mid-level developer. Right, so but again, when you go for the interviews, one I mentioned, the one where I was stumbling, and again, you go in and somebody starts telling you how they've got now 20 staff developers, or like 100 of senior developers. Their companies full of senior developers whose code is so scary that it makes people scream and run. You cannot get past that. This is what I'm saying. Is the situation is this? I know I sound probably boring. So if you've fallen asleep by this time, I don't blame you. I really don't. But I feel that I do need to talk it out and put it out there. Right. So, anyways, so again, there's been a lot of things going on, and HR has been putting all this stuff, and hiring managers were putting all these requirements to there. So people, what happens after this is that people are starting asking questions: what's going on? Where are all these jobs going? Why is the companies are fighting us so hard? It's like, oh my God, they fired like 1,000 people in the US. Um, Again, I'm gonna answer that, right? So AI is not taking jobs. Let me guess. Yes. So this is a website from Ukraine, right? And yes, there's more and more searches going on for senior developers, but this is like, we're gonna refresh it, I guess. Okay, let's make it like this, and it's gonna refresh. Yeah, so senior, middle, junior, just full stock. So probably middle, junior, middle, Drupal. And again, it's like a description of the company. Who gives a fuck? Seriously, WordPress developer, Foxmind. I actually know this guy. Не просто. This is ad for courses. Middle, middle developer, PHP full stack developer. Okay, and if you look at this, yeah, many of these other studios in Ukraine that work for companies, for their agencies, for agencies that are working with clients from the West. Right? So many of these roles, they're producing products But most of these products are again middle developers. So these are where your middle and junior roles are going. Essentially, lots of companies, and I only took Ukrainian company not because it's like pop- to popularize Ukraine, but because the same stuff happens in India, in China. I've recently been to a meetup for startup companies. All right, very interesting kind of experience. And there was people in there from, was a guy from Egypt, which was pushing the services of his brother's agency for digital marketing very very cheap because digital marketers in India don't need to make the same money as they do in Germany. And I do have to admit, I have a friend who's a guy called John, and he runs his own startup in Germany. And I actually was interested in working with him when he was starting. And I said, hey, John, how about I come work with you? Like, so if you're just starting, should be a good experience. And he said, look, man, if I were to hire you, I'd have to pay you, well, I'd be paying you this much. I'd be like paying that much in taxes. I'll be doing this. I'll be doing that. And then if I take all that money and spend them, I can get an entire team of developers in Ukraine, which he did. So he did got a team of like 4 developers for essentially about 1.5 times of a single developer wage in Germany. Like so, let's look at a couple of senior full stack engineers. Let's see if it shows the wages here. Yep. Oh, junior project manager here, though up to 1,000, up to $1,200. So project manager, $1,200. Does this vacancy? And again, even in Ukraine, our client, blah blah blah, responsibilities and then requirements. Fuck me sideways. There's a lot of them. And this one does not actually show the wage, not applicable for freelancers. They want somebody in the office. Strong middle angular. Okay, this is actually a very high wage for Ukraine right now. So 3 to 3.5 thousand dollars. Right, in US, somebody like this is gonna be looking at double that. Zakordonum Vidaleno. Okay, they are looking somebody abroad, Angular to join our awesome team. So essentially, they're offering this wage for somebody who probably, they're thinking might be living somewhere in Europe. So okay, cool. Let's look at this guy, senior. Ah, this one doesn't show the wages, but it's quite often here. PHP full stacks. What's your vacancy? Senior PHP developer Symfony. Okay, PHP full stack developer. And again, in Ukraine, kind of differs as well. So if you're closer to the capital, up to $4,500. So this is the maximum. In Europe, this is a mid-level developer. That's what, at least in Germany, this is like we're looking at mid-level, just kind of like, yeah, about mid-level, so it's about 4,000 euros. Full stack, we're looking. Okay, these guys are working for both, so across. So this one might even pay a bit more because like somebody they might agree to get someone from Poland. as you can see, a sales manager B2B, 800 to 2000. So, but overall, you see there's like many applications in these countries. They do like Ukraine, like India. Let's look another. Let's see junior PHP developer. If they're gonna say junior full stack PHP. Yeah, junior PHP developer up to $1,000. That's in Kiev and Cherkasy. This is where your juniors are there. And this is why many like European and American companies are getting so many applications from these other countries because people reach a certain level and they say, hey, I want bigger wage, I want to try a different country, right? Because and yeah, English B1 and above. So, but they don't. All these people are applying. This one, let's see if it shows. Yeah, again, it's a very nice to have, and they don't really seem to be showing the wage in here. So, but as you can see, DevOps engineer. Okay. That here it doesn't show us whatever. Yeah. Senior DevOps for European product company, immense group, up to $3,500. Site reliability and DevOps engineer. If you can find a good, any reasonable DevOps engineer in the West, it starts from about 3,500 euros. Most countries. Here it's probably they'll probably push it down, so it's essentially half. Like again, these are like the wages here kind of growing, but quite often what Ukraine pays is half. There's many roles for juniors, for mid-level, which start at very low money. Say we have seen here 1,000 up to $1,000. For the reference, the cleaner in Germany, somebody who sweeps the floors, gets over 2,000 euros before tax. Right? It's 12 and a half some euros, I guess, per hour, and it works out as over 2,000 euros in wages before tax. Right? A junior developers are now in Germany, they're coming out, they quite often are offered wages around 3,000 euros. So just a little bit above a cleaner. And this is what's have been happening over the years. So it's like the companies were drawing out and more like, people from poorer countries, but at certain point of time, they have the requirements very high and they saying, hey, now we don't even want to bring anyone over. Okay, and now all people simply don't want to come over because many developers who are coming from Ukraine, and again, like I do get the benefit of speaking Russian and Ukrainian again. Oh, there we go. Look at this one. We were looking at this. Backend full stack developer from 1.5 to $2,000. So it's about up to about 2,000 euros, we're gonna say, right? In Europe, it's gonna be twice as much. Okay, and this so people that are coming from Ukraine into Europe, they're simply saying, hey guys, in Ukraine, I was this very like, needed professional. People were hiring me. I didn't stay out of job if I wanted to leave a company. When they came to Germany, in Germany people said, and oh, wait a minute, like the same companies that were hiring these people from Ukraine and didn't mind that those people didn't even speak good English, right? They were like, just about fair to meddling, so to say. The very same companies said to these people when they came to Germany, oh, now if you want to work for us in our German office, we expect you to have all those requirements plus some, and also you must speak fluent German, it's like, stuff like that. So again, this stuff is happening. These people are finding, coming over, and they struggled because they say, hey, back in Ukraine, I was for $2,000, I was living like a king because, well, Ukraine, where the kind of wage for many normal people was between $400 and $500, somebody who's making 2,000 was actually living like a king. But when they came to Germany, all of a sudden they found that that money that they were making in Ukraine is just about enough to make ends meet in Europe. And then they found was very hostile attitude from the companies, from HR, because HR is actually trying to prove that they're necessary. And what happens next? So I say we have seen where the jobs are going, but another problem people find, yeah, minimum, yeah, 8,000 hryvnias. I'm not gonna go there, but very much like David made people. If you read on LinkedIn, I don't know what to put up on LinkedIn, so we're gonna stick to this one. People find that there's a lot of like fake positions being posted all the time. If you ever read LinkedIn, let's see what have we got here. Follow. Oh yeah, again, follow recruiters. We need to talk about LinkedIn recruiter fees. From October 2025, email will cost 600% more, jumping from $3 to $21 per credit. One colleague recruiter plan additional 400 emails months just went from 12,000 a year to 84,000 a year. For perspective, that's the price of Tesla, whatever. Instead, we expected to spend it on messaging candidates with open rates as low as 20% in tougher markets, blah 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 blah. But here the thing is like you guys have been like putting yourself in this position. I mean, if you are a hiring agent, like a recruiter or HR, we've many employees, even people who have the experience, like I said, they went past the stage of junior and middle, which almost which very hard to do, I guess probably now in Europe, and they went past that, they start looking and they're applying. And here's a problem I find is that I actually probably commented here on this one. Well, it used to be that agencies actually contacted people that actually registered with them. These days, agencies post blindly but would never write back when similar vacancies appear. And again, this is we're coming back to also the complaints that look, we have so many letters, we have so many people writing to us, and then it's like they all not suitable for our requirements. Registering with the agency these days is like essentially doesn't matter anything. I remember like before the lockdowns, some of the agents I kept a relationship with even after I moved on or like left England. The agent, Elizabeth von Graz, I believe her name was. Uh, let's just if she's on here. Yes. Yeah, there you go. She's here. Yes. Right. She was the one who. Yes. Go to see Lizzie. Okay, doesn't matter. But she was. Oh, okay, cool. So yes, she was the one who found, for example, my first job in Germany, in Stuttgart, right? So ever since then, I moved out of Stuttgart, I moved on. But even when I did, like, we still kept in touch. She's still on my message list. I've even sometimes sent her a happy birthday message. Not very often. I'm sorry, Lizzie, but but we had those communications. Now, these days, you register with the agency, you write them up, you give them a shout and say, hey guys, I'm here, I'm looking, I'm willing, I'm in the country, or I'm willing to move to the country. Like, again, many agents will say, well, you have to write a cover letter. And you write a cover letter and say, hey, I'm here and there, like, I'm really interested in moving to this town or to this area, so I don't want any help. I don't need any assistance. I just simply looking for something to do, like because I've lived in this place, like I did in Amsterdam or like near Paris or in the south of France. I lived in those areas. I've been trying to apply for positions there, and people would simply ignore you. They wouldn't reply to the letters, or they completely leave you hanging. So you go through all this, you write to them, and then you have zero contact. And then agents go, oh, why isn't the people reposting all these jobs? Now we have 20,000 replies which we did not see through, and we didn't keep the candidates on record. I mean, people could do that all the way in the beginning of 2000s, and they did not need an AI agent, right? And yet somehow these days agents are incapable of dropping you a letter and saying, hey, I have a couple of new roles coming up, so that I don't have to spend the money on these roles, posting them on LinkedIn. We've talked with you 2 weeks ago. Maybe you'd be interested. Maybe if people receive those mails, you would get better candidates, but you don't. And again, like as I said, started from reading the first post, who is to blame except for the person in the fucking mirror, right? So many companies would send you a pre-designed reply, which generally means nothing, but then they say, can we keep your documents on file so that if we have a position opening in the near future, we could contact you just in case? I I don't know. I'd be interested to talk to anybody who's ever actually been contacted in these situations by agencies, by companies. It's like nobody, zero, zip, no callbacks, nothing, right? And if the agents say that, look, they only receive one PHP developer request role per 5 years, I don't think so. But then you look at the agencies, they say, hey, we're going to be happy to contact you. Register with us, you register, and then you look after registration, you look them posting the job which you're quite suitable for, and you write to them, you call an agent, and then they don't even bother reply. Right? So again, people are there to try things, but unfortunately, neither HR, no recruitment agents, no agencies are not doing their job. Okay? Getting past that, yes, and now we get into many developers fail to realize average dev plus average communication equals you in the top 1% of devs. Communication is the number one underrated skill for developers. I agree with that. This is why I'm doing this video. I'm talking for God knows over an hour now, just to practice myself to speak things, to formulate my thoughts in a way that they are understandable, at least for me. Right? If you have fallen asleep by this stage, I hope you're having a nice nap. Okay, but nevertheless, I can't tell you how many times managers have told me they're desperately looking for candidates or developers who ask questions. And, well, where are those managers? That was my reply. Yes, we had a little back and forth with Jan. More than half of them are like that from my experience. Yeah, you mean to say hidden behind 100 layers of corporate recruitment? Yeah. And look, again, the problem is that you come in, you go for the interview, even if sometimes you're ready to you ask the questions, it takes time to learn the system. It takes time to get to the point where you can start actually asking intelligent questions, right? And the fact that you have just jumped through hundreds, if not thousands of applications, letters and stuff like this, when people come into the company, all the companies go, oh yes, we are the family, we're so great. And yet, dealing with modern companies, it seems like, you know how many guys are complaining about dealing with modern women? So it's like, while everything is okay, then, everything is great. They all tell how they're part of your family and how you should be like, sacrificing for them. But as soon as something goes wrong, they straight away they say, well, now we want to divorce and all your money, right? And then they come up with a list of things which they never told you about. And you go, I really did that? Like, oh no, and like they don't make fucking sense. They say, oh, we have noticed you have not been up to scratch for the last like 5 weeks. I'm like, okay, yes. Why did you talk to me? Why didn't you ask? Maybe I had a my my last job I did have some trouble, but outside of the conversation, but they go like, oh no, 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 we wouldn't talk to you. So essentially the situation is like this. People don't fucking trust you anymore. The HR is treating people as like disposable assets. Obviously, none of you people have read the books by Henry Ford. But for the managers to have the people that trust them and ask the questions, it takes time. It takes time to learn the system. It takes time to learn to trust each other, right? And quite often, people have been there where they've been either fired over something where they've asked a question or they said, "Hey, I probably made that mistake," and straight away they've been fired or stuff like this. We've been there. We've all been there. So again, many interviews are going through a set of very mechanical like tasks or very mechanical read-throughs. Yes, we all heard about people like going through search phrases and stuff like this. And again, like art of writing CVs is being lost, okay, but also the art of like reading, keeping track. So it's okay. We go through many of this stuff, but then the juniors can't find the roles because their roles have been shipped off to the poor countries where they can find juniors at the for, penny for the dollar, I think, or for the penny on the dollar, I guess, was it? Oh, sorry guys, I'm mumbling, right? And people trying to get through all of this, and then they come into the interviews, and the managers expect them to have a lot of questions. Like, how friendly is how user friendly is your 20 levels of going through an application? Like, most of you, like, don't really even ask the questions of the people who come for the job interview. Like, just to give an example from my experience, like, when I went to a job interview, they sent me the test. And one of the test tasks, they said like, oh wait, we really loved your code, but you did not like complete this little bit in here because there was a mathematical formula, and for the life of mine I did not know how to solve this formula from the math, right, in mathematics, let alone being able to write the solution for that equation in PHP. And so they said, well, we really loved your code, it's very great, but you did not solve that particular equation, so we want you to spend your time rewriting that equation. And I was like, these people value that thing just so that I hit all the boxes more than the opinion of their developers on the quality of my code. Right? So yeah, it was an immediate sorry guys, not interested. Other things that happened during the processes of interviewing, again, people, companies saying like happened to me just recently where the company said, oh, we love you very much. Yeah, we'd be interested in getting you to start as soon as possible. Right? It's just that we're waiting for our like some other manager. It's like, and like this, they actually kept me hanging for like over 3 weeks while they were looking for other candidates. And look, guys, again, as a candidate, as a person, right? This is a bit me kind of, you know, sharing my own pain. I don't mind if you tell me, sorry, we are actually not interested. But if you're saying we're interested, we want you to start ASAP, and then you leave somebody hanging for 2 or 3 weeks, and there's more stories where people were actually hired, signed a contract, moved cities, right, and then been fired within like before even starting, often because the company found a better, brighter, like I don't know, talent or whatever else they fucking found. The trust has been lost over the last, well, say 30 years completely. The companies have worked really, really hard to obliterate that trust. So if you want people who are gonna be, have the communication skills, but more than anything, the confidence to ask questions and to throw the big, like, offers. Yes, I understand there are psychopaths out there who simply will do anything. They just live on that. I understand that. But most of the developers are sociopaths. Essentially, we don't fucking get it. Okay? Right? Psychopaths, how they call this, something to do with the flowers, the people who love themselves, and people who simply like to write code and resolve solutions, and who quite often don't really have all those soft skills, like, which they need to be. Ooh, I keep on punching on my microphone. Who need to actually get into the vibe of with you. These are different people, and if your whole entire business model is on getting those people to, trying to get as many of those people as you can or whatever, but not actually communicating with them, many of them will not actually feel safe. Like I say, the last, say, many places were like my last role, for example. Again, there was always, I lost that job for a good reason. It was partially, again, I'm admitting to that. It was my fault that I did not communicate certain things at the right times. But on the other hand, as always, drive from the head office, which was in a different city. It's like, oh, we want this. always the kind of pool of everybody was essentially writing, trying to fix stuff and trying to do changes. And when you're not 100% entirely, how to say, within the company, like, sometimes communicating during these first periods when you still just getting into the company becomes a lot harder for many developers. And somehow we have this idea that everybody is like, I don't know, a business, like, owner, starter, constant startup. Say these people are psychopaths in a way, and somehow we expect everybody, we put those psychopaths on the pedestal and we pray to them because look how fucking successful they are. But the worker bees, the normal people who are not there to pull your leg, who are not always super good and super confident, right? As a manager, as a HR, as a company, it's your job to get these people to perform to their best. When the best solution for all the companies, well, this person is not the psychopath, just fire them, or this person is not super great in some of the, let's fire them, or this person is not really jumping at the managers, but the stuff he does seems to be a bit away from what we usually do, but it kind of shows us a little bit up. Let's get rid of that. When this is most of your approaches, you will find that it's very hard to find the right people. Why? You get people who generally step out, and this market has been building up over many, many years, right? So you're trying to protect yourself. The companies are trying to protect themselves from the psychopaths, and I understand that. But their solution is psychopathic in its origin, essentially. So, which attracts psychopaths. I'm sorry, guys, this is just ridiculous. Anyway, we have some new notifications. Let's take a look at them. Oh yeah, this is what else do we have there? Okay, yeah, this is about Ubuntu. Yes. Ah, actually, yeah. Like like I said, I speak Russian and Ukrainian, so I'm gonna translate what's written here. Like, I'm noticing an interesting paradox in the job market. The candidates are complaining that they cannot find their jobs, but refuse from relevant vacancies because of the format, like office conditions, etc. And the attitude, I want everything and straight away stay remains despite the crisis. The employers are complaining that there's no candidates, and in their turn, they are looking for pink unicorns. HR expert. Oh man, she's brilliant. You're looking for pink unicorns, but in this, and at the same time, are incapable of offering, good conditions. So we're running in circles. And again, this really describes it. So I was writing a reply. Oh, I live in Germany. Everything is even worse here. Like, seniors have already stopped being seniors. Now there's staff engineers have appeared. There's something like seniors, but even cooler, right? Went to an interview last week. They have two departments full of staff engineers. Where can a normal mid-level engineer go? The positions senior than the positions anywhere any junior than a senior in 10 technologies don't exist at all. If it's a Docker, you know Docker like a system administrator. If it's AWS, you understand them better than a network engineer. Why? Because you really should cover for the entire, you should really cover for an entire IT department. Right, so it's my joke on this one. So yes, so something I've talked about this all day today. Sorry, it just came up, right? And more and more people, right? Yeah, it depends on how hungry the candidate is and what is he's ready for. But there was a few other ones. Let me just see if I can find them. I'm sorry. LinkedIn is not really kind of one of those things. There was a couple of comments. uh, Yeah, we talked about contacting rebuild arm as well. Da, 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 da. Okay. Oh yeah. Let's look. There's something to do about AI. Again, this is in Russian, so yeah. Okay. Yes, for the reasons you know. Follow the request. We need to borrow request fees. Blah blah. Okay. Let's. Yes, and something about employers in Ukraine as well. So yeah, here somebody is like two school of thoughts. First, the directors, HR, and effective managers that are already planning to remove their IT departments, and they really believe that ChatGPT will soon write all the code, and they won't need programmers at all anymore. Maximum, they will leave a couple of prompt engineers, and that's it. Why should they pay the developer 200K if they can just ask AI to build them an internet shop? And there are the second school of thought is hard to understand because the programmers are laughing so hard that they can't really explain it. It's like, and now my comment was like, yeah, 80% of work for the programmer is to understand what the people from the above want from them. So there's something we mentioned already before. 10% is under to come up how you should actually do it. 3% is to write the code, and 7% is to make the shit to work. Right? So yeah, right, error shooting and the rest. We have a little discuss because who should understand who should understand everything. That somebody mentioned this. Yeah, it should. Uh, okay, so вот понимаешь, что хотят должны. Oh yeah, the people who must understand it should be project managers. Actually, short translation. Yeah. That's a crap translation. I don't like it. Show original. Actually, to understand what must be done, to understand what is needed, must be by solutions architect. And then he should quickly write a good solution which is independent of the programming language. Now, at these days, you can't really find these guys for any money. This requires a very wide perspective to write a correct technical task, and this is why I quite often have to listen to their ideas. Well, not very nice ones, but yeah, not very clever people who don't understand the technologies they work with, but they know 100 programming languages. And without a proper technical task, AI will always give a complete, uh, I don't know how to translate it, but yeah, and it will hallucinate as if it's taking too much acid. And this modern developers generally can run the solutions up to a level of a good junior. So that's actually true because like big solutions are always written like this place was resolved, but as the whole over the system, there is it kind of communicates with everything else, and then there's tons and tidbits of old code. So anything above 6 months, you will find tons and tidbits of code and stuff like this hanging around because somebody had to write this function again in a different place because they didn't even know it exists, right? Or something like this. So yes, we have a lot of that, right? And again, this is from somebody who wants to like explanation, and somebody basically it's kind of a little bit, but they need content for their clients, like pictures, some small, some other tasks to search for information, for strategy, some profiles. Okay, the person that's looking says, how about if I don't have any experience? What's the timetable for how much I've got to work, obviously, and what's the wage? You don't have any practical experience in marketing? Nope. Uh, okay, understood. And which wage are you looking for? So from which wage are you ready to kind of look at this one? He basically writes 22 to 25,000 hryvnias. That's about $500. Like that's not much. Okay, right? Essentially, somebody just, from what I understood further, it's somebody from university just trying to kind of start their career, like they're asking for about $500, and these people, like these managers saying, how dare this person, like require the money that they actually need to live, and all the replies in here, like if you read it again, this is even in Ukraine happening, so don't fucking point a finger at me. And all the replies are saying that, hey, if you live somewhere like Kiev, you do need those $500 to $600 to simply survive. This is like a capital city. It's not a little village where you have your own house, you have to rent a place, you have to do this, you have to do this, and you have need this money. Like this is like so my general answer was like, as a European, I don't really like those kind of employers. They cannot say anything good about this people. They pay the people in Ukraine just so they could survive, and then they offer their services in Europe. Again, something I already mentioned in this video, where there's a lot of agencies which offer like low wages to Ukrainians, but then they provide their teams to European companies. So the company somewhere in New York, one of the agencies I talked to, they were offering in Ukraine like $1.5 to $2,000 payment for mid-level developer, right? And then I was like, oh, who's this working for? And I looked into their actual customer. Their customer is an agency in New York providing services to their clients, including development services to their clients in New York and US. And in New York and US, entirely, not just New York, but New York and the entirety of US, and those people to hire the same quality of developers in New York, where the agency is, would have to start at, I don't know, 60, $70,000 minimum, right? So 20,000 or 25, let's say, from 20 to 25, $24,000, and then we go like 3 times more at least. And then these people, they will offer their services to their clients and then pocket the difference, right? And so I say they pay Ukrainians just so they could survive, and then they offer their services. And then people tell me excuse me, bro, but for your wage, we can find a complete team in Ukraine. And further, there's a few lines of, well, curses, swear words. Translate them as you wish. Right. But that's the truth, and I already mentioned that, where people were honest with me and said, hey, to hire you, we have to, we can hire you or we can hire an entire team. So, like I said, this is the kind of situation of a job market in Europe. What do we have? As it stands, right? So I think I said most of what I had to say. If you did not fall asleep until now, like I say, thank you very much. I will probably return to this subject again and again and again if everything more or less goes okay and I don't drop completely off the edge of the planet. And I will try to be a bit more clear about this, maybe a bit shorter videos, but I will try to make more videos as well because I do need to talk a bit more. So bear with me, and I hope you liked it. And we'll come back to that again. But for now, I hope you have a good time. Okay, I hope everything's fine with you. I wish you all the best. I wish that we finally start finding a good, you know, balance, and then see you again. All right, goodbye.